Okay, gentlemen, Austin Healey guys, I get asked this all the time, the difference between hand binding and machine binding. We've got two examples here. This is a 104 blue armor cord trunk mat. This is original style hand binding. It means it's hand rolled, and you can see that there's a stitch right in what we call the gutter. So let me just get a pointer here. And you can see the stitch there. Hopefully it comes through in the video. So the first stage of this binding, the binding gets sewn on like that, through that, where my thumb is. So at about 1/4 inch in, right through the binding, face to face like this. And then imagine that it gets rolled over by hand over that first stitch and comes around the back, and then that stitch is dropped in the gutter to hold the back into position. So you can kind of see it there, and how it goes on the back. Now all Healeys were done with this hand binding. It's very time consuming, difficult to do. I don't know why they did it. There are much better ways to bind, and the best way to bind for production certainly is to do Jaguar style binding, which is this. And with that, of course, we say hand and machine bound. Both are done on sewing machines. One is hand rolled, this hand bound, and one is machine bound using this binding head. Now the difference, this is a much more uniform and consistent look. It has the edge tucked in, so there has no edge visible, and it has the top stitch, as you can see. This is much easier to do because the machine has this binding head, less time consuming, and ultimately in many ways looks better. It's more consistent. This is inconsistent, and it was from Healey. It was done by hand and by eye, and therefore is not the same as this. But you can see how the corners on the machine bounding are much better, and then you have this exact sort of 3/8. And if you've got a show car, you just got to have it, then we can machine bind. This applies to convertible tops, boots, and anywhere else where binding is used in the Healeys. Choice is yours. We charge a 20% premium on most items, not all, but on most, for the hand binding. But for most drivers and cars that are not being judged to concourse level, machine binding is just fine. Incidentally, all our competitors machine bind. I don't know anybody else that offers hand binding. So there we go, that's the 101 on hand versus machine bound. I don't sew, so you have to hope that this works, but if I press on this, I won't make too much of a fool of myself, and we'll see it do its thing. You can see how that binding is turning, how that comes in 1.25 inches and is turned with the head, and it's got the edge tucked underneath, and you can see the end result there with the top stitch. That top stitch there that I'm achieving is, yeah, that's better. The stitch length is much wider, much more like that than my attempt, which is why you'll be pleased to know that I won't be sewing any of your stuff. Okay, Austin Healey BJ8 convertible top. Handmade here at Heritage Upholstery. Computer cut on our computer machine, and precisely hand sewn. One of the great advantages of the computer machine is that it allows for chalk marks on top that the girls can accurately hit with the correct top stitching. Great advantage of the machine. So we'll look at the convertible top first. Some of the details. The rain gutter rail. You can see this top featured is in blue Sunfast, Stay Fast. But of course it's exactly the same for the factory correct Everflex. We have the straps as you'd expect. We leave the window in for shipping. The window, rather the cover that was covering the plastic. And the listing cover is provided, and the item for finishing the front, as you can see. Again, attention to detail on the stitching. The pencil line is there with the computer, and it allows us to accurately stitch right through that. I'm just gonna, this top has not been brushed, and this prior to shipping here, but the rear window is almost supplied, almost cut through. We leave it in place so it protects the window. Again, very high quality Regalite glass is supplied. Heavy duty zippers from YKK, and long lasting, high quality. Again, the little details here. If you know the original top well, you'll recognize this is precisely how they did it. You can see the pencil lines that the sewers follow, and that's the cantrail above the door. Not easy to show this top in a video, obviously. It looks much better installed. You can never judge a top fully until it's on the car, but there's some great photographs of finished BJ8 tops on our webpage. And that's that one there. We're going to switch now to the full tonneau cover. Again, BJ8. This one features a very heavy duty brass YKK. As they say on their advertising, YKK, I love this. They say, small part, big difference. And it really is. They're very expensive, but there's good reason for that. They're very high quality, precise, and long lasting. You can see the flap is original. Again, nicely top stitched in this BJ8 tonneau cover. It's again, prior to packing, the shipping department has not brushed this down yet, but you can see again the attention to detail. Absolutely perfect top stitching, show quality, and frankly much better standard than the factory ever achieved. Here again, nice detail on the twin stitch there. Flaps as original. The tonneau cover is a lot of work. It takes a long time for the staff to make this. It's computer cut. It has the cloth binding. We can also do contrasting binding. It's another nice feature. Sometimes we have the light tan, and there's photographs on our webpage where we've had the binding and the piping here in contrast in dark green, for instance, or other color combinations, sometimes black with red, and there's no extra charge for that type of accenting with piping and binding. Again, the correct reinforcing here on the zipper. These are doubled up, reinforced. All the hardware is supplied with the top and tonneau. It's never fitted. None of us in the business ever fit hardware. It has to be fitted on the car itself. You can see the original hard Dura. This is a very hard felt, rubber faced felt material. Again, we computer cut that. That's how the reinforcement was done on the tonneau cover at the factory, and we replicate that exactly. Again, some real nice detailing here on the stitching, and it really is a beautiful piece, and always fun to have the tonneau zip down the middle. Very British motoring, very traditional, and all in all, a great addition to the car.